is Thomas Jackson. My qualifications are through the Ohio Nursery and Landscaping Service. I'm a master grower, master technician, and I have my greenhouse technician tech license also, tech certification. I went to O State for a year to get my aquaculture certificate to grow fish. And I went to Owens Community College to get a certificate in greenhouse management. I'm a landscaper. I'm doing some urban farming in my neighborhood. I've purchased 38 lots from the city and the land bank in Toledo, Ohio. And we've started maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, bringing in wood chips and shrubberies for the area. And we're soon to be growing organic food. And it's coming together. We've installed 550 shrubs to date, and we have 5 beds, a total of 2.2 acres in the neighborhood. And some of these beds are maybe 8 foot deep with wood chips. And the depth, or the reason we got the bed so deep is because we didn't want to grow into the toxic soil if the soil is toxic. I'm just trying to be proactive in case, you know, we're selling food and someone says that all inner city properties, the lots are toxic. So we're not even growing in the soil. We're creating our own soil with the wood chips and other ingredients. If you just take wood chips and just set them in a pile, in a course of 1.5 to 2 years, it'll turn into natural dirt. It's just the breakdown with the microbes and everything. You know, it's just a wonderful process of nature. I do have 5 lots or 5 organic beds, and we're still remediating 4 of them, but we do have one that last year, 2015, we grew 120 pumpkins. So that bed is in process right now, in production right now. And this year we'll probably have close to 300 pumpkins grown there. So yes, we are growing. First, let me tell you this. I prayed for this. This is a prayer. I prayed to beautify my neighborhood, redevelop my neighborhood, and to grow the food that's going to change the eating habits of my neighbors and to acquire the wealth from it. So in the process of doing this, this prayer was consistent for 5 to 6 years. And in the process of this prayer, I acquired most of the dirt, which I created the berms on these properties from the Toledo Hospital excavating unit, which is Absalon Construction. I just stopped by one day and asked them for the dirt, and they told me I could have it, but they told me I wasn't the first person to request this dirt. They said everyone that had came before me, they denied him, and he didn't know why he was giving it to me. And I said to myself, I knew it was a prayer being answered. So we may have received, I want to say somewhere close to maybe 400 or 500 loads of dirt from these people, and it created all the berms that are on all these sites. The wood chips are coming from 2 different tree companies, Trees Inc. and Penline. They had city contracts in the area, and plus they were doing private contracts in the area, and it's just a place for them to come dump the chips. It's free for them, and it's free for me to acquire mulch. So that's where all the stuff is coming from. 3 companies are blessing me with it. My beds, there's a different height in the beds. Some of these beds will be used for organic dwarf fruit tree growth, and the fruit trees the roots grow deeper than the produce. I'm spreading wood chips. The tree companies have brought me probably about 40 loads of wood chips. I'm spreading them so I can grab some more wood chips. I got to stack them up. Got to stack them up so that they're not in the way when the trucks come to dump them. Vegetables, most vegetable roots grow only 36 inches in depth, so maybe 3 feet. You know, but the fruit trees, they grow a little bit deeper, so the beds have to be a little bit deeper. And we don't want the produce or the fruits growing into the old soil that could possibly be contaminated. We don't think it's contaminated, we're just, you know, trying to make sure. It's a process of acquiring these chips because I gotta wait for the companies to bring me the chips. And then the chips have to set and decompose. And there's other ingredients that we're adding to the chips that are speeding up the process. But I would say with the 5 beds that we have now, I would say maybe another 1.5 to 2 years before everything is in production. Also with the beds, most of the shrubberies, the 550 shrubs that we've installed in the neighborhood, they're basically for the beautification of the beds, because not all times does a garden look wonderful. While everything's growing, The gardens look good because of most plants have flowers that come before the fruit comes. So, some people know this, some people don't. But when you harvest the garden looks bare. So what our plan was to beautify the neighborhood and to take some of the eyesore away from a bare garden was to put shrubberies around the gardens. So you really can't see the gardens, all you're looking at is the shrubberies. So the idea was to install shrubberies based on the fence regulation of the City of Toledo. So we install shrubberies in front of the gardens, and on some of the gardens they're surrounded with shrubberies, so you can't even see the gardens. It's basically a natural fence. But we also plan on installing fencing around these beds too. So it's just, like I said, another process, and we'll be installing greenhouses too to speed up the growing season. So in the course of growing these gardens, we have received opposition from a few of the neighbors, a handful at best. And for what reason, I don't know, but the Green Party came out and assisted me with this, because when I received the opposition, the City of Toledo gave me 30 violations. And instead of coming out and viewing what was going on, they just violated me. And the Green Party caught wind of this, and they came out. We canvassed, we went door to door in February and got signatures. We got 150 signatures from the people in this area that say they love this. Please don't stop. Before I started redoing these beds, most of these lots, because it's not just one vacant lot, most of these lots are 3 and 4 lots together. So it's quite a big area. Altogether, 5 beds are like 2.2 acres. So before, think about it, before we started putting greenery on these beds, there was like 6-foot high grass. So the people that signed these petitions would rather see shrubberies and vegetables rather than 6-foot high grass and garbage. So it makes sense to me. But right now I'm in court, and when we first got the affidavit to go to court, the prosecutor said he came out and visited all 5 sites, and he said, there's no way I can prosecute you because you're bringing the neighborhood up, you're beautifying things, but I want you to work with the city. But there were certain people in key positions in the city that weren't trying to work with me. So that's why this case is going on in court right now. And I don't know how it's gonna come out, but like I say, I'm still praying. And I think I'm winning because the people around me are starting to rally. So, like I said, I have no idea. And everyone that's come through here, through the people on the city council, the people in power in the city, the treasurers, the old mayor, they all give me high fives and shake my hand, say, we appreciate you. I had an old mayor, a mayor come through here, and he said, if I was mayor, I would give you Citizen of the Week. So I don't know what the opposition is. Wade Kapsikevich, he came through, and he viewed everything, and he said it looks like a corridor for the city. Councilman Craig came through. He's in a couple of the articles with me. He didn't understand what was going on, and he liked it. The editor for The Blade, Keith Burris, he came out. Tom Troy came out. They're both from The Blade. They loved it. Marcy Captor and Jane Ruvolo, they've been involved with what I've been doing here in the neighborhood since I planted my first 20 trees. They were trying to give me beautification money, but there was no money for beautification. But now I'm doing urban agriculture. There's money for that, and we're working together now to get me for I can secure a microloan to put the fencing around the properties and to acquire the greenhouse. So the city's against me, but the state and the county, they're working with me. So like I say, once again, I don't understand the issue. The key issue dealing with the case is wood chips. The judge said wood chips are a nuisance in the neighborhood. And he doesn't understand soil science to understand that wood chips in the course of 1.5 to 2 years will break down into organic soil. And most of these wood chips have been on these 3 beds for at a minimum of 1.5 years, at the maximum maybe 4 years. So that's the issue. Bill Burkett, he tried to garner a deal, but the deal that he garnered was toxic property. The old craft house site, they wanted to move me to the craft house site. When they told me about the deal, they originally told me about the deal, they said that they had money to clean the site up. and to get a wish list together, and you're in the driver's seat. Tell us what you need done to the site. So I go over and I figure out everything that I need to be done, and they're telling me, okay, we'll make that happen. The third meeting we get to, they tell me the city doesn't have any money and they want me to deal with the site as is. I don't understand how I'm supposed to grow organic food on a toxic site. That's impossible. I don't want to poison anyone. And if I was to grow anything near and I poison someone, that'll ruin me. I'll never be able to grow, sell anything else to anyone to eat. I think it's a conspiracy or something else going on in the city, because I was trying to be proactive about this years ago. There was a gentleman by the name of Tom Croma that was the department head of neighborhoods. I tried to speak to him 2 years before any of this happened. The guy would never meet with me, would never return a phone call. And at the time, I didn't know that he was over the urban ag money for the city. And here it is in July of last year, June or July of last year. So I don't know if they thought that I was after money. I just wanted them to explain to the residents that were complaining what was going on, because it was only 9 residents complaining. The other 150 people that we got signatures from on these petitions, they loved it. So why would they deal with the minor part of the neighborhood and not the maximum part of the neighborhood? There's community gardens everywhere. There's over 300 of them in the city. Why can't I have one? To resolve the case against me, I always knew that the wood chips would break down into soil. It was just about getting the time to make it happen. And the time was allotted to me with the stays that the judge was giving me. It was a weather thing also. I don't understand how they expected me to do something in the middle of winter. Now that it's spring, like I said, I went out there and I tilled the beds, and most of these wood chips, the so-called problem, has broken down into organic soil. So all they need to do is send a soil specialist out here and just basically tell the judge that this is no longer wood chips, it's soil. And that should render the matter gone. The alternative property that they're often offering, the 1515 Craft House site, there's 2 issues there. There's concrete, there's slabs of concrete everywhere. We could grow on top of the concrete. That's the minor part. My issue is the toxins that are under the concrete and that are emanating through the concrete cracks. If I was to put a raised bed there and started growing food on that site, and say a year down the line, they tell me that now all my vegetables and my soil is contaminated from these toxins, and I sell this stuff to somebody and someone gets sick. I don't want that on my head. I don't want to deal with that. The toxicity studies was going to be taken care of by the land bank. The land bank had offered to put the money up to do the soil test and check out the toxins that was on the site. But I don't know what happened after that. But I do know presently that Pete Gherkin, the county commissioner, stepped up to the plate, and that he's sending a soil specialist out here this Friday to judge the consistency of these beds and tell, is it soil matter or is it wood chips? And where do we go from here? And the county's commissioners are also offering another commercial site that has no toxins on it. So I think we're still moving forward. It's just I don't know what's wrong with the city. This is their area. When the soil specialist comes out and he renders everything soil, I expect the judge to basically back off and leave me alone and let me continue to grow. I have 700 to 900 starter plants out of the greenhouse in BG that I'm waiting to put in the ground, along with a bunch of other seeds. This should be my first full year of full-fledged growing. And I also have restaurants, and I have people in the community waiting on this food.
What happened to Thomas Jackson has actually inspired a lot of urban ag aficionados to come together and petition for an ordinance before City Council. And I've been helping to coordinate those efforts. And what we're seeking to do is to establish sanctioned activities that you can do on residential property, modeled after code that's been passed in Cleveland and tested to be very successful. We're also looking to ensure that situations like what has happened to Mr. Jackson don't happen in Toledo again. So we're working with ABLE, a local legal aid provider, to develop the language, and we hope to be introducing it to council soon. I was contacted by Thomas a little over a year ago, and I was called in to act as an advocate on his behalf. While I don't deal directly with urban agriculture, I work with quite a few people who do in this area, as well as community gardening. And in talking to them, they all immediately saw the importance of what Thomas Jackson was dealing with. So they've come together and they've band together, and we've been working to help provide public support for him to counter the narrative that certain elements of the city government have been pushing, and some of the neighbors as well, that, oh, this is just a problem where he's offended neighbors, when quite a few people in his neighborhood, in fact the majority, support what he's doing. So we're acting as advocates on his behalf because we feel that it's important that this not end on a negative note, that we have a positive way forward in the city of Toledo for urban agriculture and community gardening. The Green Party has helped to coordinate both rapid response as well as legislative efforts in support of urban agriculture and Thomas Jackson in specific. So when Thomas Jackson was threatened with a bench warrant over the wood chips, we organized a rally in support of him in front of the courthouse the next day. We've also been coordinating the legislative efforts for people in the urban agriculture community so that we can develop a positive way forward to prevent this from happening to anybody again.
Very hopeful. This is just something new that the city doesn't understand. But it's being done in every other city in Ohio. You know, it's just time for Toledo to get on board, that's all. And I just happen to be one of the first people doing it, that's all. The result of today's court case was, to me, a biased decision. The judge would talk to the city, and the city had told him that I was partially in compliance and that they had no reason. They didn't give the judge a solid reason why they didn't come remove the wood chips, but it's organic matter now. The county took soil tests, and it's less than 20% solid matter there. So it's basically 80% organic matter. So that's my reason that they didn't come take anything, but I'm not sure. But the judge wasn't satisfied that the city didn't act. So the result of today's court decision was the judge told me that I still wasn't in compliance, but he's closing the case because it's been in his courtroom too long, and that he ended up fining me $1,000 per lot. So a $3,000 fine. That decision is one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard. And for the judge to fine me for something that the majority of the population loves, it's not sitting well with me. The administrator, Ms. Cindy Geronimo, which is the commissioner for code enforcement, told the court that basically they're partially satisfied with what I've done. They want me to take the beds down. She said something about the height of the beds. The beds are less than 3 feet tall now. And she doesn't understand the way that I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to grow, keep my beds at a 3-foot depth so that the vegetable plants don't come in contact with the old soil. They just don't understand soil science. What I think this decision means for the other citizens that may want to do urban agriculture, I think it's a hindrance. I think it's something that's going to cause an issue for them. It might change their mind. It might be a deterrent because they don't want to go through the same hurdles that I went through, or the same obstacles. But there's an urban ag ordinance that should be out within the next, I want to say 3 to 4 months. So hopefully the next citizen that tries to do urban agriculture won't have to go through the problems that I'm going through, because basically, if there was some type of ordinance on file, the judge could have referred to that instead of using his own personal opinion or the opinions of neighbors that just don't understand.